Hello guys, NoOffensePies here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna point this. Nah, not today. You guys will see my face in some other video, not this one. So earlier on Hanger13's Facebook page, I posted this picture of my Eurofighter. My Eurofighter, essentially. I don't know what I was gonna say after it. And I promised that there will be a tutorial, so I'm actually doing the tutorial on the same day, but uploading it would probably take 2 or 3 days of, you know, editing and uploading and stuff, because my internet's quite slow, but whatever. So first things first, I've cut everything out. Actually, I might have just blown some of your ears and made you deaf because I stepped too close to the camera. Never do that. Note to self. So I've cut out some of the pieces. Let's have better lighting so you can actually see what I'm pointing at. So I've cut out some of the pieces. I did this lighting. Look at how magically beautiful this lighting is. It's so good. This way you guys can see clear. What was I going to talk about? This is all rubbish. So, following some of these lines, so I'll go over the lines that you need to follow. You need to follow this line, and then once these are down, you don't want to tape it yet, and then what you want to do is you want to follow this line, this line, this line, this line on the inside. Don't go over because you want to leave this part round. And essentially all of these lines and these lines on the inside, and then you don't want to do anything with it, you just want to leave it here. How you fold the lines, in my opinion, the best way to fold a line, even though I personally don't do this sometimes, but for a really neat and clean paper airplane, what I usually prefer is the little ruler trick. What you do is you put a ruler right over the line, you put another ruler underneath, and you essentially scoop it, and then you just scoop up. And make sure you have a lot of muscle coming into here so it's tightly pinched, and then you make a line, and then you can fold it whichever other direction, and make sure you get a very straight line. And that's what you want to do. You want to, oh shoot, I want to keep these small pieces in place. You want to cut all of these little pieces out as well. You can't see, please lighting. Yeah. I want to cut these smaller pieces out as well. I hope I'm not destroying the audio, otherwise I'll have to voice over, which takes even longer. And then you want to leave just a random strip, because we're going to need that to reinforce the intake, or if not, make the intake. Make part of the intake, I should say. So, now let me explain the choices on why I've decided to take these little pieces separate from the main body. Now, I usually do everything on one piece of paper, fold it, and sometimes I don't even need tape, even though most of the time I do, but sometimes I don't even need tape, and people often ask me, if you can do that, why do you ever put them apart? Well, here's the thing. I want to print all of this on one piece of paper, because a lot of people on YouTube don't know how to scale their printers correctly, therefore different pictures will come out to different sizes, and it's going to be a whole bunch of mess, and I'm not making a scaled PDF document for it. I'm just not going to. It's a waste of time. And by the way, this is going to be found in the description below. So, yeah. After you follow those lines, what you gotta do is, right here, you wanna, since you follow this line, you wanna fold down and inwards. And what you wanna do is make sure this is flat, and you wanna glue this onto here. Now, I usually will say to always use tape, but for today's purposes, I'm going to say go ahead and use glue. I'll be right back with the glue, because I have managed to lose it. I'll have to go find it. I'll be right back. Alright, I am back. Now, people often ask me what I use. Glue stick. It's cheap and it gets the job done. Most of the white glue, I even have hot glue that I sometimes use. Hot glue is a little bit more difficult to utilize unless you're making super tiny models that you want to just have it stick. But sometimes, you know, it'll still be difficult. What we have is a glue stick. I have this Canadian brand. which is irrelevant. I don't want to be making an ad for them, essentially. And what you want to do is you want to make sure the glue stick is nice and wet, and what you do is you get your toothpick and you just roll it around in the glue, and it'll have a thin layer of glue on, and all you want is that thin layer, and you can get that glue, or you can get like just a little knob, and then you can just use the toothpick to spread it. You don't need a lot of it, obviously. You want a very minuscule amount, to be honest with you, because otherwise it'll turn wrinkly, it'll get wet and all disgusting and bad. So just past experience tells me you want glue, but not too much of it. You want the right amount for it to stick, and stick just enough so that it's not going to get anything wrinkled or fall apart mid-flight, which is obviously bad if you can't figure that out. But if you can't figure that out, you really shouldn't be watching this video. So yeah, I'm gonna go glue both parts in, and then I'm going to come back with even more information, because I'm amazing, I don't know. Anyway, I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back, and it seems like I'm somehow running out of memory. I will have to check that situation out later, but essentially what I have done is, as you can see, I've glued these two parts in. You want to let the glue set for a little bit. It's not going to be set immediately, so you want to have this, and afterwards there's a line that you want to draw. I don't include this in my initial drawing. I don't know why. I guess I was lazy. So essentially what you want to do is, you see how this folds up to here, right? You want to fold these in and just hold them down with your hands. Don't tape them down. And while you're doing this, make sure this part is folded really nicely, because usually when people have problems after they've folded my planes, it's usually a problem with this part, and then your wings are going to come out really ugly, and it's going to fly terribly, because yeah, it's going to look really ugly. And usually, if it looks really neat, it'll fly really well. So remember that, kids. Never do drugs. What? I don't know what I've just said. I think I might have some sort of mental illness, but essentially what you want to put this is right here. You see where these, the corner of this is. Essentially what you want to do is put the ruler here and put the ruler here and match them up. Draw a straight line left to right. I don't know if you can see this or not. So I'm actually standing right now because I don't have enough space to fit both my tripod and my seat. That's an ugly line. But essentially you want to draw a line. Neatness is very minor, because this part is it just has to be there. You just have to have it there, and that's about it. So essentially that line. And then what you want to do is cut along that line. And we'll do that. Actually, I'll be right back. I have a feeling I'm going to run out of memory. And yeah, I will be right back. We're rolling. Alright, we are back. I am sorry about that, because apparently I had some really old footage that I forgot to delete. Right here. So you want to make the cut along those lines I've just drawn, not all the way through, up to the corners. And that's all you want to do right now. You don't want to do anything extra, you just want to leave it as that. What you're going to do is you're going to draw another line slightly behind this little white part here. Essentially between these two corners, and you want to draw it just slightly behind these two corners as well. Not all the way across like last time. And you don't want to cut these yet. You want to cut these afterwards, when we make some other folds as well. And that will be all that you have to draw on here, and we can start making the plane look like a plane, essentially. Now, first step I would recommend you to do is along this line and this line, on the bottom of those little parts, what I suggest you to do is get a nice and generous piece of tape and make sure it's neat, because you don't want your thing looking ugly. Crap. And you want to lay the tape just along there. Can you see that? Let me point the light up. This is probably going to kill the camera, but oh well. Right there, I don't know if you can see the reflecting light. Right there and right along that edge, right along this edge, where you will eventually make the cut, just to make sure that after a little bit of wear and tear, your plane where you have made those cuts will not be torn into pieces, which is bad. I hope you realize. One side swell as the other side. Oh shit. Go away. Okay. Apparently I'm not good with tape, despite what many of you might think. Even though I've probably made a couple thousand planes at this point of my life, but apparently I'm still really terrible with tape, and this is like one of the only planes that I've actually used tape. I mean, not used only tape, that I've tried glue, because honestly, the advantages of using tape is that, you know, itself is plastic, which is stronger than paper, so it adds on, you know, a little bit more structure, as well as the fact that it's also just cheaper, it's less messy, you can be more messy and get away with it by that. And it's just great. And look at how dirty my hand is already. It's because of the glue and all of that print stuff. Ink. English, please. So, I have to get rid of that, or else my plane's gonna look really dirty. But I guess it doesn't really matter because I'm a dirty person. That doesn't really matter. It's not an issue that we should address right now. And look at that. How did I manage to do that? Strip that apart. Alright. So, like I said, we want to make this plane look like a plane. First step is right here. You want to make this fold, and right here what you want to do is, before you get everything in order, you want to make sure that you just take this from the bottom, you essentially poke it back up. Oh, you can't see that, I forgot. Essentially you take this from the bottom, poke this back up, and you want to leave a very minimal amount of left on the bottom. You want to make that fold. Okay, and I will make that fold. Somehow it's not letting me, and it's giving me a lot of resistance. Come on, paper, your paper. Not supposed to be strong. Not stronger than my fingers, at least. Okay, so we will make, oh god, I'm destroying my paper like this. You want to make this fold. And after you make this initial fold, what you would want to do, in my opinion, not in my opinion, what you should do, honestly, because I made this, and that's how it's designed to be done. What you want to do is you want to, actually before that, let me just put that on my lip, because I do that. I'm weird, I know. What you want to do is, again, fold this back down so it doesn't show through the top. You want to leave it just on the edge right there. Just on the edge right there, like that. And you want to pull it down just enough so that it's there, and maybe a little bit further down so that it doesn't show. Now this is all aesthetic stuff, and you want to pull it back down. Now usually I would have my vertical stabilizer directly attached to this, so it just folds up, but I didn't decide to do that this time because that way I can fit this all into one big piece of paper, and the plane's gonna be big and not tiny like my first iteration. Not my first iteration, my second iteration. I tried to fit everything on one piece of paper. Everything's supposed to look good. No, it didn't. It looked like crap, and nothing fits. It's all bad. So essentially what I did there is, you would take this, flatten this out like that, and you'd wrap it around. And you want to get a piece of tape. You want to tape around that. Now, tape this loosely. Don't tape this tightly. This is just a placeholder, so this doesn't open while we perform rest of the operations towards the rest of the plane's body. And yeah, so first thing you want to do, and I often forget, I forgot to do this. Before you should have folded that, you should have, what essentially you should have done is you should have took this and folded it like this. Just leave around, I don't know, let's take a ruler and see. Half a centimeter. Just leave around half a centimeter of space and just fold it like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be exact. I could, of course, indicate this with the actual line on my initial plan, but I am such a lazy person to do measurements on the computer because I have to then do picture size and then pixels and all sorts of stuff. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've ever tried to do this. It's not simple, especially when all of this is hand-drawn. I'm not good with computers. Well, I am. I'm not good with art, I should say. So essentially you want to fold it outwards and then you want to bend it back inwards along the same line, and make sure you don't get it really messy. I'm going to bend it along the same line. Later this is going to become our air intake. Very simple. A lot of people actually wonder how I do the air intake. This is exactly how I do it, and this is exactly why I leave so much space between my folds, between the wing and the initial body, so I can do this. And then what you want to do is, you see this big piece of paper right here? What you want to do is you want to fold it in onto itself. Now you see how there's this line creasing towards it? Yeah. You want to, first of all, get rid of that line directly, because you want to cut along the lines that I've instructed you to draw earlier, and hopefully you followed my instructions instead of being stubborn. Actually, that has nothing to do with being stubborn. I don't know. I can't speak English. It's okay. Just pretend I speak perfect English. I'm not Asian at all. I'm white, right? No, I'm not. So you want to take that, fold it in, take the other part, do the same, and essentially what should happen is you can now form this, and you also want to fold this back towards itself as well. And then the reason why it's split into 3 sections is because you can construct a better nose. Now, this might be slightly complex to understand at first, but I'm going to try to guide you step by step through it. What you want to do at the end of the nose is you want to leave these pieces out first. You want to fold them outwards and make sure they're out of the way, so they're not obstructing anything. And you want to take these, you see how it's folded inwards? Yeah? You want to take the edge of this and cut it off, because you don't want this end. And all you have to do is do this to one end. And the other end, you can be sloppy like me and use tape, or you can be really nice and use glue. I personally prefer tape because this part's not going to be seen, so it's not going to be a big mess anyway. And there's no real reason for me to use glue. There's no advantage structurally if I used glue, so that's going to happen like that, and this fold's not going in very nicely. There you go. Just shove it in. Oh god, I didn't just say that, did I? And you want to take this part and fold it back out. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to align this on the top to the right shape of the head, and you want to glue the bottom. So this is now glued in, and I'm going to do that right now. And I will be right back, because I'm not going to show the painful process of gluing that to that, and I'll show you what I mean afterwards. Alright, is this working? Alright, let's zoom in a little bit. So, this plane, essentially, if you can tell what I did on the bottom, is I folded both pieces in on the side and both pieces here in on the side. Adjust the size as you see fit. Mine's going to look like this because I think this is how fat the plane should be, etc, etc, etc. You don't need to know the exact measurements. Whatever you think looks right and looks good is going to be good enough, because that doesn't really affect the flight too much. It shouldn't. And if it does, you've done something seriously wrong. That is beyond the ability of these simple things to change. Now, the next part I'm going to show you, and show you exactly how I glue things. So this half of the glue stick's actually no longer going to be used. Glue stick, I mean, toothpick. Alright, let me reach around the camera. There you go. This right here is another toothpick. And what I'm going to do is open up the glue stick and just skim the top of it for a nice bit of glue, not too much, just a good enough chunk. And it's actually more difficult than it really looks to be, to get the right amount of glue out of a glue stick. You want to take that and you want to smear it along the insides, especially the edges. You want to make sure you reach the edges so that this sticks, well, the edges stick essentially. And you don't want to smear it along the entire thing, but you want to smear it along the edge. I've said the edge very many times, but that's essentially what you want to do. And you should want to have enough glue on there so it'll stick. Not too much, not too little. You fold that over, go like this, let it stick, and do the same on the other part, the other side. And once you have completed this, you are halfway done. You have now completed the most difficult parts of creating this plane. Now, I'm going to tell you that a lot of the details, the reason why I'm not showing the entire thing and all of the detail is because not all of the detail is needed. Some of the stuff you just have to look at the plane and figure out. I do that as well when I'm designing. I'm not designing it to be exactly like this and how it's intended to be made. If you've ever taken any tech course or you have any sort of knowledge on how things are usually created, you'll know that someone comes up with a crazy design that theoretically works, and then it might be cut because no company can manufacture such a thing. And this is sort of like that. You know, whether or not you can make this work totally depends on your ability to essentially manufacture this plane. Now, remember that little slip of paper that I told you to keep? Yeah. You see how it fits like this, right? This is not exactly big enough. We need a piece of paper right over it, and on the underside of it, just about this big, and just about the right size, which I'm going to take a rough measurement of right now. I think I made my plane too wide. Oh god. That'll be annoying to fix, but it's fixable. All I have to do is pop it out on the inside. I'm going to just do this and make it a little bit skinnier by popping this out. So it doesn't look too bad afterwards, but it'll look a little fatter on the bottom. But for the most part, it actually still looks very decent. Very decent, very great. I don't like the word decent. My planes are too great to be decent. Wow, I am a cocky person. Take this, and essentially you want to get that air intake shape. You can see it coming along like that. Just essentially fit it together with a piece of paper as reinforcement. Of course, that is because this is just not long enough, this piece in the middle. It's not wide enough to bridge the initial gap. And I'm going to take this piece of paper and just make a very rough cut. Now, you can be more precise, but for the sake of time on this video, and the true fact that I know that I don't have to care that much about this, you want to put a bit of glue on both ends, and what you want to do, the way you do this, is you put one end on this end right here, right now, like that. You see? Like that. Just want to leave it on, press it down, make sure that glue is, oh god, that is way too wide. I think I'm slightly drunk. Of course, cut the excess off as you see fit, and if you need to, rather, not as you see fit. This part needs to be folded properly. Now it's folded properly. Let's see. I have a feeling it's a bit too tall. That is indeed a bit too tall. How much taller is it than the other side? Just by a little bit. So we can fix that, of course, just by folding it back over. And while you're doing this part, be careful that you don't rip that part. It's really easy to rip. That's why I put a piece of tape there earlier. Even though it makes it look slightly ugly, it's worth the tape. And this little part, actually, I want it to come off, so that will come off. These two little ends, it's a very minor detail, but I don't like it there, therefore I'm going to take it off, because it's going to obstruct my vision looking down this thing. I'm very descriptive, as you can see, especially in the English language, even though I have quite a high mark in English, which I really shouldn't be having. But that is irrelevant. What am I talking about? Take a piece of tape, now that you know what it's supposed to look like, and tape the insides of this, so that this is nice and tight and in the right shape, so it's not annoying anyone and being stupid, which it often is. Okay, so it's like that. Then you take that, you get the right length, snip off the ends. Doesn't have to be exact. Well, actually, you should be exact right here, just so that you get better fit and finish, but truthfully, it matters very little. And just get a bit of glue, and make sure you close up that glue stick, or that bottle of glue that you have there, so that nothing happens. I like glue stick because when you take it off on small amounts of the from the toothpick right here, you can just sort of bake it under the light and it will dry really quickly. It's like hot glue, but not quite hot glue. So you want to take it in like that, and you want to stick like a ruler underneath to provide a bit of leverage, and you just want to hold it here. If you have a lamp, hold it close to the lamp, get a bit of temperature. Ow, that's burning my hand. That's a bad idea. Don't put it right under the lamp with your finger. Just have it like that. Somewhat dry now. Dry enough to the point where I can take that off. And it's going to look a little bit ugly because obviously I didn't have time to worry about fit and finish online. And you want to have the bottom a bit wider than the top, and that's obviously too wide. I'll fix that afterwards, but right now, for the sake of saving time, we'll just leave it like that. Now, here is a part that is a little bit harder to comprehend. You want to cut along this line. Cut along this line. Then you want to snip this bit off. That will come off. That will come off. And you want to fold this part in for added wing strength. You also want to fold this part in for even more added wing strength. And you want to make sure that's folded nicely, because it is your wing. This is the part that you should really be paying attention to. Oh god, I got a bit of glue stuck on there. But that's okay, that'll just be a little bit of stuff that I'll have to clean off earlier. Fold this really nicely, and then you see along this line, again, same line, up to the wing, you want to cut again. And you'll see what I mean when you're actually making this. You want to cut along it again. You see you have this little bit, right? Fold this large piece over. Fold it, actually, before you fold it over. I think I should make the biggest line in the world, because that'll be obstructed and you can't do that. So just take a bit of that off. You can leave a little edge there. That edge will help you later with something else. And you just want to fold that over, and you see how it's right here now, right? Right along this. That's what you want. Now, you can choose to tape this down or glue it down. In my case, I'm going to do both. And I'll be right back after fastening this. Fastening? What the hell? Words, please. I'm so bad at describing things. Glue, whatever it is. After I finish this, I'll be right back. Alright, we are back. So as you see, I've taped the bottom and glued the bottom in various different ways, because this wing right here, just, I don't know why, the way I like to glue things, it just always eventually comes apart. Now, this is when you get to take the bottom back apart. You see what I did there with the little pinch? Yeah, you don't want to keep that. You want to keep it the normal way. And you want to make sure the left matches up with the right. It's the right length and the right height for both sides. And now you want to just I'll take that out and redo that later. That looks horrendous. Alright, now what you want to do is you want to take this piece that I have magically pooped out of my... I'm kidding, no. This piece that will magically appear because I cut it out earlier with my magic. What you will have to do is take this and glue it on. Fairly simple concept. Do that, and you've got yourself a vertical stabilizer. Now be careful while doing this. You don't want to put too much glue, and you certainly don't want to put too little. This part comes off very often in flight. I often find that it's either this part or the front canards, because those are the only parts that are not directly attached to the body itself. Then you want to again take the toothpick, and along the two sides of this, you want to just make sure this is a tight enclosure and finish and whatnot. And just make sure that's good. Close it up. And this part, snip. There you go. That's fixed. This part, snip. That's also fixed. Alright. And you will have yourself a nice fat looking plane that's not supposed to be fat, but oh well, it's fat looking. Whatever happened to it? I think it must have ate too much mashed potatoes, or it turned American or something, even though this is supposed to be a European aircraft. If you're American, don't get offended. That was a joke. Americans aren't all fat. Most of them are pretty well balanced and good looking. Europeans are as well, but I'm just not going to talk. When it comes to nationality, there are quite a lot of haters and nationalists on YouTube. There you have that. Tape the canards on, and you have got yourself a Eurofighter Typhoon. I will complete the finishing touches by gluing this on, which honestly doesn't take too long. And positionally, where they are, you are responsible of figuring that out by looking at an actual picture of a Eurofighter Typhoon. I can't really help you with that. And there you go, there's one. Put some glue on. There's two. Hopefully these stay on nicely. Make sure they stay on. And I'm going to make sure my plane looks good by making some minor adjustments to the way I folded things. Make sure everything is neat and tidy. And yeah, I will be back once this is completed. Anyways, for now, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoy playing with and flying this awesome aircraft. I will have a flight video up on another day, and this thing does fly very well, so make sure you don't fly it on trees.